Hey everyone, I'm really excited to share something with you today. It's something on my heart, and it's related to a psalm, a chapter in Psalms that I recently read a couple days ago. And this chapter is Psalm 56, and there's a couple verses that just really stood out to me. So I'm going to go ahead and read them. It's in Psalm 56, starting in verse 1. Be gracious to me, O God, for man tramples on me. All day long an attacker oppresses me. This is David. He's calling out to God. Verse 2, my enemies trample on me all day long, for many attack me proudly. You see, David was getting attacked. He was surrounded by his enemies. And then verse 3, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Verse 4, in God, whose word I praise. And listen to this. In God I trust. I shall not be afraid. What can flesh do to me? And then David says the very same words in verse 11 of Psalm 56. He says again, in God I trust. I shall not be afraid. What can man do to me? In this passage, David is calling out to God because he's surrounded by his enemies and they're attacking him. But what I love about David is David put his faith and his hope and his trust in God alone. Even when he was afraid, he made a choice to say, I'm going to trust in God. You know, this phrase, in God I trust, got me thinking. Because recently, my wife and I have been teaching one of our sons about money. He's finishing up kindergarten and he started to learn about money. And as you know, on our coins or on our dollar bills, there's this phrase on every one of our pieces of money here in the United States that says, in God we trust. And when I read this psalm a few days ago, I just thought of in God I trust. See, David is putting his faith and trust in God. Now, what's interesting is today is July 30th. And many years ago on July 30th in 1956, a law was put into place that said our motto in the United States of America would be, in God we trust. That's amazing. What a declaration to say that I'm not going to trust in this or that. I'm not even going to put all my trust in our government. I'm going to put our trust in God. And that was signed 68 years ago. And it made me think, one, I really wish that our nation would truly put their trust in God. Like we say as our motto, what if our nation actually said, you know what, we're not gonna put our trust in our military or our politicians or our Congress or our Supreme Court. We're gonna put our trust in God and we're gonna follow him. And you know, I read this passage and I can apply it to me, myself. Am I truly putting my full trust in God, or am I putting my trust in something else? In money, in relationships, in my job, in my physical abilities? You see, David knew that he had a choice, because when we trust in something, it's actually a choice that we make. And he had a choice, and he chose, I'm going to put my trust in God. Even when all this stuff is going on, I'm going to put my trust in God. So I hope that encourages you to today make a decision to choose to put your trust in God. And also, would you pray with me for our nation? That our nation would again turn to God and put our trust not in other stuff, but in God alone.